I'm looking forward to a very interesting program.
Thank you very much. And Honorable Sowe, you can also extend gratitude to our esteemed followers.
Thank you very much, our co-host, like our viewers. This is a program which every Gambian and a concerned citizen should be encouraging, because we need peace as we are approaching the election year. And so glad meeting my colleagues, Dr. Ismaila Ceesay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Dear viewers, this is the new episode that we have brought for you, that is conduct of political parties and conduct of political parties in ensuring peaceful campaign and elections at large. We will understand that in the next few months' time will be an election, that is presidential election. So in that regard, sometimes elections are very chaotic and tensions become so high. In order to avoid this out of patriotic duty, we have brought this new version of the Peace Talk Show, of which we will be inviting presidential candidates to come and have a dialogue, not a debate, but a dialogue how to ensure and safeguard the dignity and the integrity of this country by not putting this country in the cross of conflict. So coming to Doctor, you are an erudite scholar and you have lectured far and wide, understand, and you have also read about political science. What do you think is the purpose of election, and why is election important?
Well, elections is a complex business. The purpose of election basically is to elect the leaders that we can entrust with the responsibility of governing a nation. It is part of the entire democratic process. You have to recall that democracy in ancient Greece used to be based on what they call direct democracy. It means that there were no elections as we know them today. A plebiscite would meet, and then out of that they will elect or select someone to lead them, and everybody will take part in this process. In fact, at that time in Athens, every citizen will have a chance to lead Athens at least one time in your entire life. It's called direct democracy. So it became more complex. That form of direct or plebiscite democracy became untenable. It is practiced in very few countries today, like in Switzerland, obviously, but it's been modified a bit. But then we realized that all of us cannot sit under the tree as it used to obtain in Athens to elect our leaders. However, that's what they call a representative democracy, where now we'll elect people and to go and represent us in the structures of governance. So elections falls within that category, that we need people to run the affairs of the country. But how do we choose them from among the population? That is through elections. That is, public office will be advertised, and those interested, the politicians, will run for office, and then the populace will vote for them based on many factors. So election, the purpose is to elect our leaders who are going to be given the responsibility to govern, and we'll give them a time frame. In some countries it's 4 years, in some 5, in some 6 years, to see whether they've really fulfilled the pledge they made to the people, that is in the form of their manifestos. Because political parties make promises in their manifestos that if you vote us in, we'll do X, Y, and Z in these sectors. So these are the indicators where we can hold them accountable. So we vote them in, we give them 5 years or 4 years or 6 years, depending on the polity. And then when they don't fulfill, we vote them out and we vote in a new government. So the purpose of elections, just to answer your question, is to give the populace the opportunity to elect the people who will be entrusted with the responsibility of governance.
That is very clear, and I am seriously educated as well. I'm elevated. Doctor, looking at election, that is the purpose of election, why now the importance of election?
Well, it's important because we have to elect leaders. And like I said, the society has become so complex that it's going to be difficult to just select leaders. That is the purpose of elections, to give people the chance to run for office. It's part of the democratic process. It enhances the democratic process because, like someone said, democracy is the best form of governance, except for those that have been tried ever since. So for us here today in the Gambia, we have what they call a democracy. And within the democratic process, we have to elect leaders, because there are three things you answer in a democracy. I mean, if you ask the political science students, tell them to define democracy, they'll tell you democracy. Some will use Lincoln's 1856, I think, if I have right, Gettysburg definition: democracy of the people, for the people, by the people. But then you're going to ask the three questions: who are the people? Who are the people in a democracy? If you say democracy is for the people, by the people, and for the people, who are the people? How should they rule? How should they govern? So the people are, in the Gambian context, according to law, are those who are 18, who are Gambian, who are over 18, who are of sound mind, and these are the people. That should govern. That should elect the leaders. So democracy, the whole entire democratic process we call democracy, is underpinned by elections. That is, we have to choose our leaders using a democratic, transparent process. And that process is through elections. And that is why the elections is important, is crucial, because one, it fulfills the criteria for democratic governance, but also in addition, it gives the populace the opportunity to elect their leaders.
We'll come to that, Doctor. Doctor will come to that shortly. Let me come to the Honorable. Honorable, we have seen that in Africa, elections are sometimes very, as I said, very chaotic. As a man of experience and exposure, how has electoral violence degenerated Africa?
Well, thank you very much. This is a concern to African as a continent. We have witnessed post-election conflicts, violence, and that there are a lot of damages, loss of life, and eventually erupt to war. And these have affected many countries in Africa, like Rwanda and DR Congo. If you still have the case study of other countries, you will know that election violence is very dangerous. No country in the 21st century should nurture or instigate election violence, because this is a very serious thing. When, like a country, you build everything within 10 years and within just a second, everything is ransacked, loss of life, displaced people. Well, this is very serious.
That is very right. Looking at, Guinea-Conakry, for instance, in their recent election, and going to Uganda, and should I call it Kenya in 2008-2009 election, Ivory Coast 2010-2011 elections, all these elections, whether in low intensity or in high intensity, were so deadly to an extent that people lost their lives, properties were destroyed. What actually a particular message that you supposed to send to the Gambian people, that at no point in time that we should emulate those sides of attracting or inducing violence during elections as a party leader?
Yes, as a party leader, representing GAP, every Gambian, now nothing is hidden. We have been watching televisions, we have seen what happened to other countries, and this small country, we should not allow it. Let's accept each other, let's tolerate each other, and let's respect the ideas of others. And we have to be collectively, as a country, but not to look at individual interests. And we have to respect our institutions running the election to avoid such occurrences that have happened in other parts of Africa.
That is precisely wonderful. Doctor, CA is a very young party, but not as young as somebody who is just born today. So, with the emergence of CA in the political arena of the Gambia, how will you ensure that the people, that is the masses, are well educated and the electoral, the political atmosphere of this country is transformed and changed from politics of violence or hatred to politics of idea and competition?
Well, obviously, I think that has been CA's mantra. If you follow and listen to CA keenly, you'll realize that CA doesn't get engaged in the politics of emotions. What we engage ourselves is in the politics of selling an agenda to the Gambian people. And I think that's what politics is about, the competition of ideas. Politics is very simple and straightforward. It's nothing difficult. What it's about is about strategy. The political is about the policies. Politics is about not personalities, but policies. That there's a problem in society, both social, environmental, economic, you name it. Every society faces problems, and as they evolve, these problems become more complex. So the purpose of politics is to find solutions to these very many complex societal, economic, environmental, security problems. That is why it's a competition of ideas as to which solutions are the best solutions to solving these problems. So party X will come and say, well, we think this is the problem. This is why environmentally we are doing bad. This is why economically we are doing bad. This is why inflation is high. This is why there is unemployment. This is why there is high crime. This is why education sector is faltering. This is why the healthcare system is failing. And because of that, these are the solutions. This is what we should do to revive education, healthcare. This is what we could do to ensure security. So every political party does that in the form of their manifestos. And it's left to the population now to listen to each of these political parties and then determine which of these parties really understands the problem and also has the right solutions. And they vote for that party and give that party 5 years to govern. But again, that is at the political side. I think not to defeat the purpose of this program, which focuses on peace. I want us to move away from the implications of electoral violence and focus more on how we prevent electoral violence. Yes, obviously, we can take examples from across the continent, from Central African Republic, from Cote d'Ivoire, from obviously Kenya recently. And then what leads to electoral violence? What can we do? See, what is the problem? Why is it that some countries have peaceful elections and some countries don't have peaceful elections? Why do we see alternance in Ghana? We've seen change of government from one party for many years now, for many turnovers. Senegal, obviously. We've seen recently Nigeria and some other. Why is it happening in these countries? But why is it that in some countries, they really don't have peaceful elections? We need to learn and understand what the problem is. You see, when the playing field is not level, that is a recipe for electoral violence.
Yes,
and let me just conclude there. There's a football game. Whenever the supporters and the players, after the game, attack the referee and there's violence in the game, it's because the referee did not, or has been perceived not to do a very good job and has been perceived to be biased. So Gambia today, let's look at the warning signs. What are the warning signs? Because let me tell you something. Electoral peace is not maintained and created and sustained three months before elections. No. It's a complex process. There are certain mechanisms that has been put in place, institutions, processes put in place. From the last electoral cycle, the job starts to ensure that we have peaceful, free and fair elections. And one of those things is to ensure there's a level playing field, that the incumbent plays by the rule, and there are so many other things that need to work. We can go into details.
Yeah. That is right. In fact, that is why we are leaving no stone unturned to ensure that, the ground is also leveled. Because for us also, the Peace Talk Show platform here, we're trying to make sure that all the presidential candidates are reach out to all the institutions responsible to ensure that the election is free, fair, and transparent. We also get them here to make sure that there is a proper, level field or a proper ground to ensure that the election is peaceful. We'll come to that shortly, Doctor. And coming to Honorable, looking at GAP. What strategies do you have in place? Our doctor cited so many important points here. That is to have a very convenient atmosphere from the institutions responsible. That is a level playing ground. But you people at your own level also understand as a party. What strategies do you have in place to ensure that the election is peaceful? Because you must have strategies that you work by. You understand? When you are attacked, how are you going to respond to those kind of situations?
Okay, thank you very much. GAP as a party, since the inception, if you look at the party, we don't against people based on hatred, but we always based on constructive criticism. Because as a party, GAP, we say no to violence, and we make sure all GAP surrogates are well informed that we have to respect our political opponents, regardless of divergent ideas. Let's respect them, and let's not abuse, insult other political parties. And as if you look at our manifesto, GAP, we always talk of inclusive. Like every citizen and every political party within that globe have to be respected. We cannot think on the same line. We have different ideologies. But remember, we are all Gambians. We are all looking to see that Gambia is a better country for all of us. So this is our stand, and we always talk of peace, inform our surrogates that don't insult. And even we meet during the election, we happen to meet with any political party leader, we will just give you away, you pass. And after election, anybody who win, we accept, we build the nation. Yes.
That is wonderful. As you said, sometimes, as somebody told me, Justice, you are bringing these politicians on the platform, some of them, they will come and, say something nice, but when they are out there and, they know that the intensity is high or they are on the podium, they may start, casting, so many unpleasant things outside. Will this be the case of GAP?
No, because if you look at GAP, since at our inception, when we criticize constructively, because we know this is the Gambia we have. You cannot have a hate in your heart, or you instigate your supporters to abuse or use foul languages to party leaders. That we don't accept it, and we always stand to make sure that our supporters respect the rules and respect the ideas of others. We are here as a party to make sure that we have our manifesto. We sell our ideas to the Gambian people, left to the Gambian people to choose the best political party they vote for.
Yeah, that is wonderful. Let me come to Doctor. Doctor, you said, for there to be, free, fair, and transparent election, we need to have, a very, conducive atmosphere. That is something that, has to be created by institutions which are, in charge. And in these institutions, last time I hosted Prof. Lumumba here, he said, the Electoral Commission, the police, the religious society, But we have also seen that recently incumbents also play a lot of influence. But even though if you ask them, they will tell you they are very democratic. You people at CA, understand, this is a political this is not a political platform, but it is more or less like, a platform where we ensure that, the message of peace is well circulated, because under peace, everything comes, understand, politics, religion, whatsoever, because when there is no peace, nothing will flourish. What do you people have currently as a concern, which you think can jeopardize the peace and the tranquility of this country?
Well, like I told you, the playing field should be level, and that is our concern. That currently we've seen the abuse of power by the incumbent and the abuse of incumbency by the current president. Media, the other parties are not given equal access to media houses, and we've seen how even with political meetings of the president is broadcast on GRTS. We've seen how state resources are used by the incumbent. We've seen how the president has transformed the statutory nationwide tour into a political tour. All these are concerns that can really lead to a situation, a perception that the election is not free and fair. But I think I would like to dig deeper into this discussion about electoral violence. I think it goes beyond what political parties can do and say. It's much more than that. Let us understand the complexities if we really want to be fair to this topic. We have to understand also that society has a key role to play. Democracy is not alien to Africa, but the kind of democracy we had was consensus democracy. Now, after independence, we are forced to transform into what they call competitive democracy, where political parties compete for power. However, you have to understand that after independence, the African state was deracialized, but not completely detribalized, meaning that political parties bound themselves along ethno-regional groupings, and this is a problem. And therefore, what offsets that, what really helps us get rid of that problem is to build strong institutions. That is why if you look at the countries that are able to do that, are able to build strong institutions, are able to build what they call strong national identity. So the people don't see themselves, see politics as a game of we against them. That if our group loses, we lose the resources, and if their group wins, they win the resources, and therefore we'll be better off. We will be worse off than them. That thinking has to go, and therefore a lot of education needs to be done at the basic level, going back to basics to teach kids that politics, yes, is competition, but not competition for resources as to where they will go to, whether they'll go to Fonyi or Nyomi or Basse, but competition of ideas as to how those resources will be used to make sure every citizen lives in dignity. But political parties have a key role to play, and I agree with my colleague that we need to preach peace, we need to make sure that we respect each other and give each other the respect which is due. I think this is key.
Yeah, that is very fundamental. In fact, this question, keeps popping into my mind, that campaign is coming, understand? And moments of campaign, sometimes you tend to be very disappointed, Some could even say, wow, this is a statement from Doctor which we never, which is more or less inciting violence, Doctor is the one, standing on the podium at Basse and he's saying this to Basse people, and he has been a reputable lecturer, you understand? So, Doctor, moments of elections can be very rough and tough. You may be there, somebody who is having a different political view to cast some, unpleasant remarks on you, you understand? How are you going to welcome those ones, and how are you going to also, learn those ones down?
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, let's be honest with each other. Let's be very frank. You cannot be in politics and you don't expect for people to tell you unpleasant remarks. It's not possible. Then quit politics. Even in the most mature democracies, they use unpleasant remarks against each other. Follow the American elections. Follow the UK elections. That is not the problem. It's how we manage it, how we respond to it.
Yeah.
As a party, we're aware that there'll be unpleasant remarks, obviously. There are people who will provoke you. They'll say things, they'll lie, they'll mudsling, they'll castigate. But you have to understand it's part of the politics. It should not go beyond that. So for us as a party, we know that these are things that we have to manage. These are things we have to accept as part of the political game in the African context. That people will mudsling, they'll castigate, they'll even fabricate lies against you, but how you handle it and how you deal with it, it is what makes you a good leader. So for us, that is not a problem, and we are expecting it. But I really don't think that is what leads to electoral violence. The stakes are higher than that.
Sometimes, those ones may not actually be, the direct recipe, but they also can, groom, you understand? Because people say, at so-and-so campaign, they have been insulting us and we've been, So as a result, one party may start harboring, grievances against the other party. And at some point, you may not even know where,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the stakes are higher than that. I don't think castigation, mudslingings, fabrications should really lead to violence, to be honest. I think the stakes are higher than that. There are other complex issues. And I think if we really want to prevent post-election violence or election violence or even pre-election violence, we have to look at those complexities and the undercurrents, the social, the economic, the ethnic undercurrents, and make sure we deal with them and nip them in the bud than focusing on castigation. And I mean, if you castigate CA, if you go and fabricate lies against the CA leadership in a platform, well, so what? I mean, for us, that is normal in politics. But I think there are deeper issues, more complex and more important issues.
Those issues will be looked at very well. And as I told you, all the institutions in charge of ensuring that the election of this country is free and fair, we will have them here. In fact, we having that assurance from IEC that they are more than willing and ready to be here. And even the party of the incumbent is also willing and ready to be here. So as we move on towards the election, or as we move closer to the election, we will be having more dialogue. And all of your concerns will be actually well discussed. And coming to you, Honorable, what are your concerns regarding the security situation of the country? He said, that currently there should be, a very conducive atmosphere to ensure that the election is free, fair. But security concern also is something that is very complex, you understand. You as a party may not feel secure, either from the institutions or the environment, or you may even have your own reservation. What are your security concerns? When I talk about security here, it's very broad.
Yes, as the situation is as of now, there's a great concern. Too much personal attack, insult, and that, to our own understanding as a party, GAP, that is not politicking. We have to move now to the maturity. We are 56 years since independence. We have to do away with personal attacks and insult, labeling, accusation. These are things that should be not accepted in our society. And presently, this is a concern toward the December election. The security situation also is vulnerable. Because as we all know, people are not secure. Security doesn't mean from traditional security. Now we are in the 21st century. People, even their own houses, are not comfortable. So GAP, this is a great concern. That's why on any of our platform, we make sure that we preach. Let's try to show political maturity now. We have grown as a country. So we will try and we will make sure that we will respect all political leaders. And we will make sure we inform and we always keep on informing our party surrogates. Let them not insult any political leader.
Yes, I will come to that. We have a very, new tradition here that has emerged, Like, I'm in your party and I make a statement, on the social media, or, say something against Dr. Ceesay, you will just get up and say, okay, Justice was speaking on his opinion. This does not represent the view of, GAP. How do you deal with issues of those kinds? Because this is something that is very disturbing.
Like GAP, as a party, we always consult each other. Anything that concerns GAP, and we have a structure, and the man responsible will come out to clear the air for people to know. Our stand is always clear as a party. Though, as a political party, people have to criticize you. You have to accept it. You are part of the game. So we have nothing against anybody who will against us, but we have our manifesto and we have ideas. That ideas we are going to make sure we inform Gambians. They know that we are a capable party and we say no to violence.
Yes, okay. Now I have this question for you again. Politics is said to be very dirty, and with the emergence of GAP, how are you trying to ensure that there is hygiene instituted in our politics?
We have 3 points, which is very important. Like, we as GAP, we act and preach peace. We respect our opponents. We have our policies. But we will respect the ideas of others. We have different ideology, but we have to accept that we cannot think on the same line. People have to think different. That is, as GAP, we give high regards to every political party.
Let me ask this to Dr. Ceesay. Doctor, people say politics is dirty, and you have been a political science lecturer for years, and you have also embarked on extensive research on politics and governance. So what do you say to this assassin, or should I say allegation to politics?
Politics is not dirty. I disagree with that. Politics is a noble enterprise. Politics is about public service. Anybody who decides to go into politics, it means you want to serve the public. What has happened is that it is people that are dirty, that engage in dirty actions, that makes people have the perception that politics. So politics itself is not dirty. politics is a noble cause. So the people who engage in politics are the ones that are dirty because they engage in dirty practices. If clean people enter politics, you wouldn't call politics dirty. So politics is just politics. What is politics? Public service. How to use our resources to ensure that they're equally distributed in society. And this is how are decisions made, and so on and so forth. How is power distributed? How is power gained? How is power lost? This is politics. But again, politics is not dirty. It's a very noble enterprise. And I think what has happened over the past years, especially within the African continent, it's because the people who enter politics are the ones that are dirty because they engage in dirty activities.
That is precisely inciting, this is what people will always say. They say politics is dirty, and sometimes, others will tell you, I don't want to venture into politics because if I venture into it, I'll become a corrupt person. And, So, now coming to you as time has actually become a problem, we cannot allow people to call because we started late and, people have other engagements to do. So, coming to you, what is your message to GAP supporters in this approaching presidential election? This is something that I will, cut or trim and send it to you, and you disseminate it. If you want, you can speak in Mandinka or any other language that you may think, can go far and wide. It's a message that will come because all presidential candidates who will be here, that kind of, message like this is from Honorable Alieu Sowe or His Excellency Alieu Sowe, the presidential candidate for GAP. I am sending this message to all GAP sympathizers or followers that so and so and so on regarding peaceful election.
Okay, baraka bake.
Okay.
Me jiber lalbe tentulambe jayila. Me même fono la Gambien ole election o fele akana. Momo nyanti mira la ku kilina be mu Gambien oleti. Nga janne soto. Ila fita momo support la. A support a tuta ite la mira loto. Bari fanang momo nyanta alonna ibe carte di la menna because wole bita lola pour kete la problème ol solve. Nkana son kanyo kajafi nkanyo neng ko docteur ya fotu ab kamoto nyame honorable Ceesay ako ntol meta démocratie bari wotu mo make kaytol kono ntol la ado ninna dinol amanna pour kanyo nen kanyo kajafi bi ntol le nyanta kala exemple di dunia kono fam because woyen ntol tra kanne nata modify ntol nyanta lola je baake so gambianol be yalon election o manna kelola amanna nyo nengola ka kuma jawo fo ndolle tamu nyi bankoti mbenga majority tandi bang because Gambian bi man la fiye dingo wulu ay futa 56 years amang kutute amuso ake bari Gambian futa tembo mento 56 years bintol fona nyanta kela bankundi banku balbe nyalon tol kan nyim politiko men kana ten election o men kana ten benga nyo muta moy dame muta je muta nga bunya ning horomo samba ben nyanta lon nale Gambia doyatale ñinga problème o fenke jang ntol damma avec la masi bolte andu alama ala en tanka wala andu benga ñolonne
amin thank you very much belenga moy wonyama holam His Excellency Alieu Sowe GAP la flag bearer for this 2021 presidential election. Mr. Sowe, elakumo saheda kendiata anu ngalang gamenol belakumo melal kendeke. Coming to His Excellency, I will not call you doctor, I'll call you His Excellency Dr. Ceesay. Adelem CA wala Citizen Alliance la fenkoti nyaton ko de mimbe lolay pour nyobori mbala wala carte fayoti. Doctor, you actually, the floor is yours also. A message that is going to be spread across the land and the breadth of the country, nationally and internationally, to tell them this is the message from the CA party leader on, the upcoming presidential election and the position of CA to ensure that the election is peaceful.
Well, I don't know why you insist on calling me your excellence. I'm not very excellent. So, anyways, memeng fola Gambia dingole walonko me politiko le kono. And politiko niya faham bake. politiko manke konnante yaati amanke hasidi yaati amanke mo nyo kaja foti amanke nyo nengoti amanke sonko nin keloti munem politiko wolong ferol mi alon kon se sambanan no banku dingol kan pour kajo ko banku nga doku esaje momo ibe gambe banku kanjang esitara foro yakono muna woti koda ji senengo soto koda korango soto mi alon ka sitale adaman kolea ngana silol deda fondin kele do ko soto nga senelal dima musole la gadi non soto fanan kela sembu ke damen pour ese fan nafano jada kende abunda nga dok fu mo be dawo dani sasa de se jara no ye kende asata ete da dula jam ngana karambo ngol da pour ndingol se karang isa ela karango se nafa wolom politikoti wo ferol wala te danka moltom mon ka foyko alto la fero soto alta ana jiko alta ale banko doku bari sañ kate fayo kana sila ntol banko dingol ngamin no wolonko ngasi ngana mo politician ol bela yela ferol fo mole nyami nyabo ngana carte di wala ni ngana carte di minna min ganyeta banko dingol be wonno ma nga kambe nga ke kelenti nga ke ba kelen fa kelen nga mari di ma e banko doku ise mo di ma banko doku asatar e mantara man sakunda be ka kuma kendol fo ka yamari odra mo di ma rolde bana banko doku ntol basic kelenti ngalonko Gambia bi ntol be ba kelen fa kelen si fatam fanso nyanda ka o bayle dina fatam fanso nga bay fengo fem yalo ko fatam fanso lo nga bay bawo bi Gambia abe nyame ni sikilim bondi Gambia atekala Gambia di kotenke because ka fayna GAMBIA ne enyim bondi je ita kuma la Gambia ba fala Gambia ne ji bondi je abe kala ambial woto sikile ne bondi Gambia tron Gambia be tinyala le woto atekela Gambia woto ngamin folonko ntol mimbe Gambia bi ndam mangol manke nyo jawoti surwa manke fulo jawoti maninko manke manjago jawoti sarahule manke fano jawoti ntol be killing njaw wolo mundi wolo faare ya anin konko anin jata kende abalia anin fonde kala du ko so wolo jawoti bar nimman kambeng njawol ngamin foteng nde kala nola woto ngamin folonko ak kilinti ke bakilindi nga ñoo buña nga ñoo horoma nga ñoo la ñanto di la ngaje ko na alfal ka politiko ke no ñameng mfanan ka politiko ke wonya bawo bi e ka ni meren kata si social media abe alfal nenna abe alfal kajafila o ka banko hanin kelo fon aka banko fon halakile amang ke kuti mialon kon sa ke politiko do o nga ñoo muta nga ñoo buña nga ñoo horoma ngalon ko politiko drone bari mbe ngani yakiling wala mbelaf saka fota muntole Gambia mialon ko Gambia di wo Gambia den starno Gambia banko kan foro ya ko anin buña ko ka fota je fonsi kambenga kafu nga ñoo dema nga ñoo yamari esadensi fota.
Thank you very much mbelengo moy our presidential candidate sola ni aje nga ñim programme mo kere nga nadnale wala ñinti ko presidential candidate ni banko ñini kan ka tandile ko nga Gambia le soto and Gambia le wata political party ti wala Gambia le wata groupe ti Gambia nga wala soto and mbele nga moy yemim fo so mini alongo ka GAP follow mini alongo ka CA follow ala je komiko bi GAP ni CA la nyaaton ko mini alongo be ko wala chodi bi ka fo okay ñu non dolla borlati pour kata ka wala dolla biroti bi wala be sirim platform killing jam pour ko kacha pour isaje ko na banko mba sambala nyame ni Cairo ni bunya ni hormo kono so mbe mi fala mo be wala ñinti ko alkana lo silo kan ale nyonen wala ale lo silo kan alkanyo kajafi wala kal je mini political party do to komi alkeje comme al jawol e manka al jawol because ñun mo flol mo jawol di ite tarla nun jambi so mbe mi fala mo be wala ñinti ko politico manke ñoo faati politico manke ñoo nangoti politico manke ñoo tiñaati politico mindi wala ñinti ko moye kilia la banko la pour ye lo yaaje la banko eta ñaato ye jikende soto ye courant soto e jaada kende ya soto ye sino la bunkono wato ite mira la fayte ila somonda be wala kayro kono wala ite wala kayro kono so me mobe tendula minen jibe mbal tendula mbal jayla and next week fanang we will have two presidential candidates here minialango they will join us here to discuss after those ones also we will see how best where we approach the institutions like the IEC like the police and the religious leaders also on how to discuss collectively to ensure that the upcoming election is an election that is going to be free, fair, transparent, and we will choose the right person who will take this country to the promised land. And in that regard, we thank you. And Doctor, thank you very much for coming. And Your Excellency, thank you for coming. And sorry for calling you Doctor, Your Excellency. Kind regards to you all, and see you next week again. Your host, Justice.